Welcome, everybody, to the world's greatest news and reviews. Your boy, Captain Mal, here, and today I'm joined by...
Your boy, T-Crawler.
Yeah, I'm Weapon 2 on the mic at last, coming straight at you from our new podcast.
Oh.
And we actually have Harvey joining us also. And as you guys can probably tell, yes, this is our inaugural podcast, as I have affectionately referred to the world's greatest podcast. See what I did there?
Nice.
See
Nice.
that? Yeah,
That's
that's some clever naming.
Like it.
So yeah, we're just gonna rattle through a couple of topics and go in depth in conversation, and hopefully be somewhat entertaining. But bear with us; we've never done this before, and we're probably gonna be bad at it.
No, we're good at everything.
That's true. Weapon 2.
By bad, you mean good? Yeah.
Sure.
That type of bad.
Badass.
Weapon 2. Take it away. What do we got?
So
What
I
are we
wanted to
talking
talk
about?
we're going to talk about a topic here that it's interesting. It's how DC tried to keep basically all of our superheroes that we've come to love away from us for all eternity.
This wouldn't be sparked by some activity that's been on our page lately.
It was. It basically was sparked by a conversation I was having with a Dark Claw in reference to some Captain Marvel talk.
So for those of you who don't know, the world's greatest news and reviews, if you listen to this on YouTube, we also have a Facebook page. Go ahead and check that out. We post lots of funny memes and things like that. And Dark Claw, along with Venom, are two of our admins that we have helping us run that site. So anyway, so you got into it with Captain Marvel.
Yeah, there was some cursory information that I've always had about comic book law and things that have happened in the past, and so.
Well, why don't you explain the meme? Explain what started the argument.
Well, the meme was basically something that was Captain Mal that posted this, or was it Venom?
Venom posted it.
Okay, Venom posted a meme of the famous Batman slapping Robin. This was Marvel's Captain Marvel slapping Shazam, aka DC, aka Fawcett Comics Captain Marvel, across the face.
Yeah, he was like, "Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Shut," and then it's her slapping him like, "I'm Captain Marvel now." Which that's just funny. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
it's funny.
It's funny.
Let's put up there to be funny.
It's funny. And so then Dark Claw is he's, I don't know how you say it.
He doesn't like Marvel's Captain Marvel.
He's militaristic in his defense of DC. And he doesn't really like Marvel in general, especially around Captain Marvel and the newest movie that came out.
So I'm going to agree with everything you just said. First of all, there's nothing wrong with defending DC. God knows they need
nothing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a DC fanboy. Also, I will, to his credit, I agree with him in that in the comics, Captain Marvel's not super interesting. She's kind of a bitch. I don't really like her, but I like the movie though.
Okay, so
Well, is it that she doesn't do anything for you? That's what I'm asking, because there's a whole lot of things not doing things for you.
She doesn't
And-
do anything for me.
Well, see, there's every comic character can't be the best comic character.
no.
Okay.
No, that's fine.
There's different.
So which Captain Marvel are you talking about that you didn't like in the comics? Because Carol Danvers wasn't the first female Captain Marvel.
I'm aware of that. I don't like any of them.
You know.
Rogue's the best Captain Marvel. Yeah. You guys like that? Yeah.
That's nice.
I can't disagree with that.
All right, so you get into this argument with Dark Claw, and now you're gonna educate us, because if you guys don't know, Weapon 2 is kind of the OG comic fan here.
Oh, yeah.
He's forgotten more about comics than we'll ever learn.
So I was just, I looked a little bit more into comic law that I really didn't know, and started going down this path of how DC used litigation basically for 3 decades to keep their characters on top and weaken other comic companies, so that they basically they wanted to hold the right on a superhero. A person with superpowers was copyright infringement if you came up with anybody else with superpowers. And they did a good job for pretty much 3 decades.
See, and now that sounds like a selfish and ludicrous thing to do, but that's something that big companies do all the time. Like, Apple and Samsung have been suing each other over patent infringements for smartphone features for years, since they first made smartphones, over
Right.
ridiculous things like swipe to unlock and notification panels,
Fingerprint.
anything that a big company has that they make or change to make better, they want to not have their rival have it. So just playing devil's advocate here, yeah, that's kind of a messed up thing to do, but that's a company. They want to make money. They don't want their competition to be able to outsell them, right?
Well, it was more of a time thing, because you got to remember, Superman was the first superpowered hero So when you come up with something that's never been invented before, you got to test the waters and see where your copyright reaches. Okay. Initially, they thought since this is the first superhero and we bought him and we own him, we own superheroes. So, and that's the basic. It gets tested through litigation, but that's the platform they were taking. If this person has superpowers, copyright infringement.
And also, they probably had no idea of knowing how big the superhero landscape would be and how varied and all that kind of stuff. But I see what you're saying here.
So, so basically, the first litigation that they took on was Fox Comics in '39. Will Eisner created a character called Wonder Man, and DC hit him took him to court, and they stopped after one issue, and that was the end of Wonder Man. And then the famed Fawcett comic, which was the first company that dared take them on. Initially, they came up with a character that was called, in 1940, it was called Masterman. And I'm going to read you the description of Masterman, and that will let you know why probably they really didn't need to necessarily sue them, because I don't think he would have been a character that would last. He's about as corny as you can imagine.
Hey, before you get into that, I just want to point out that hey, Vic, you don't have to flex. There's no camera right now.
Yeah.
I think you're just so used to the videos that you're flexing and you don't even notice.
First of all, I do flex on camera. Sorry. Second of all, I'm not flexing. I just look damn good right now.
I mean, you do look good. You always look good, but you like adjusted your shirt and you flexed. I mean, it's just
Dude, actually,
So,
I'm
okay.
over here by the board, and actually, it came through on the audio. It's pretty faint,
The
but
flex?
I could hear the
You
flex.
could hear the
actually,
flex?
yeah.
Okay.
all I'm hearing is that, Lonnie, I just love that you noticed, first of all. I love that you heard it, and I'm just hearing, hey, Vic, you look good. That's what I'm hearing.
So
all right.
at this
Masterman.
point, I'd like to say that
Now I'm flexing.
this description of Masterman could apply to either Masterman or Captain Mal. Stronger than untamed horses,
Yeah.
swifter than raging winds,
Oh, that sounds right.
braver than mighty lions.
Oh, Lions ain't got shit on me.
This is where things go off the rail.
I'm liking it so far.
Wiser than wisdom.
Well, that seems like an oxymoron, but
Wiser
sure.
than wisdom.
I know, I get it. I'm
Yes.
still with it. Go.
And then we go, kind as Galahad
What the fuck is
is
Galahad?
Masterman.
What's Galahad?
Kind as Galahad. Is that like a
I
Greek,
don't know. Who's Galahad?
a mythological god? or like
Galahad
Greek
has
god or
got to
something?
be. I think
So
I
the-
think that Captain Mal is going to be Googling Galahad, so we have that.
The
But
cool thing about a podcast is I could totally just Google things.
Yeah.
I figured, okay, so it sounded medievally. So he's a knight in King Arthur's Round Table.
oh, yeah,
okay.
yeah, we've
Oh,
all heard
okay.
that.
You know
Everybody
what?
heard that.
I'm still on board.
Yeah.
When is this? Stop describing me. When is this getting silly?
So he got
Hey,
his powers.
they should cast Captain Mal.
Yeah,
over
what's
the
his
part
character's name?
Masterman.
That's
If
Master-
we're ever gonna cast Masterman, wait, who owns this character?
Well,
We'll get to
he's-
that. That's murky.
He was buried. He was buried by DC.
Let's dig him
Oh,
up. Keep going.
Anyway,
Time to
so
unbury him.
Masterman got his powers from a magic capsule containing vitamins of pure energy.
Have you
Pure
seen?
energy.
No, okay.
Dun,
Have you seen
dun,
my plate?
dun,
Have
dun,
you seen
pure
those
energy.
bottles of vitamins
Pure
and
energy,
BCAAs and creatine and protein that I take? So far, I'm loving this. This is all about me.
So basically, because of their victory over Wonder Man,
Wait.
Fawcett
Victory over who?
over Wonder Man, the
Wonder Man,
the
okay.
first
All right.
character that they beat in Fox Comics.
Okay.
Basically, Fawcett laid down with Masterman, and they said that's it. After 6 issues, they quit.
Hmm.
But
We'll never know what would have been.
however, they had another character that was extremely successful at the time. It rivaled, if not surpassed, Superman. They also had a television serial going on with them, and that was Captain Marvel.
No.
I like where this is going.
They had this television series from Republic Pictures in 1940. This was Jack Kirby, one of Jack Kirby's creations. They fought in court for 12 years
So
over this.
who originally created Captain Marvel? We're talking DC now, right?
Yes, it was. No, it's Fawcett Comics, and
But
it was Jack Kirby.
Jack Kirby created Superman, right?
No, Jack Kirby didn't. That was Jerry,
Oh,
the
Siegel or
Joe
Siegel.
Schuster and Jerry Siegel. Okay, and so
Oh, Kirby did Spider-Man and shit like that. That's right.
Yeah, he
Marvel.
did lots of Marvel. He also did some work for
Steve
DC.
Ditko.
In the early days here, they were kind of working all over the place. They were kind of freelancing, and so they came up with they had this thing going on. They were so successful with Captain Marvel that they said, "Nah, we're going to fight this in court." And they used some. They were making lots of money, and so they decided they'd use some finagling Fawcett did to make sure this continued for a while, so they could continue to use the character. In 1948, they won. Fawcett won in court against DC. In appeal, there was an appeal in 1952. They lost the appeal. DC won the appeal. By then, the golden age of comics was pretty much was over. They weren't making as much money off of them at the time. Superheroes were kind of waning a little bit, and so they decided they folded all their superheroes and gave up that portion of their publications. How you guys feeling about this so far?
I didn't know it went back and forth quite that much.
I
That's
didn't.
actually interesting.
Yeah.
So when did the Marvel version of Captain Marvel get thrown in there?
Well, I'm not going to go all the way up to when Captain Marvel happened, because I think that Captain Marvel happened around 60. I'm going to say 63. It was sometime in the 60s. I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
But there was some litigation that happened before that still. You had Mad Comics. Okay. So Mad Comics is the first loss by DC when they decided they're coming out with Super Duper Man.
You're joking, right?
No, it's Mad.
Super Duper Man.
I can see
They
that.
said, and they
Wow.
and this is why they win, because it's parody, and they're parodying this battle between Super Duper Man and Captain Marbles.
Marbles.
And so,
Nice.
of course, DC wanted to come in with copyright infringement. Parody and satire is protected in fair use, and they lost. And so they said, "Oh yeah, DC. Well, here comes Batboy and Ruben. We're doing Batboy and Ruben too. How do you like them apples?"
That's what I like. I used to love reading the Mad comics, Mad magazines. They're so funny.
And so then Archie Comics, as we've heard, we know Archie. Jack Kirby also came up with a character named Private Strong. Okay. Now, this will give you an example. Oh, wait, I got another thing that I left out. I left out an interesting detail. During the litigation with Fawcett Comics with Captain Marvel, before that, Superman couldn't fly.
Yeah,
What-
he leaped tall buildings in a single
But
bound.
you know who could fly?
Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel.
That's
And
right.
somehow during the litigation, all of a sudden, Superman could start flying.
yeah.
They said, "Oh yeah, well, I know we're saying you're infringing on our intellectual property, but we're stealing yours." So,
Sounds just like Apple of Android.
Jeez.
so the funny thing about this goes to show the example of how just anybody with superpowers they wanted to say was an infringement on their thing. So, Private Strong, this is his superpowers. He could throw lightning, super strength, super running. DC gave him a cease and desist, and he stopped. So, I mean, nowadays you wouldn't even come close to trying to copy somebody's superhero with that. But that's the way they were trying to. That's what the rules they were trying to go by back then.
You know, the Captain Marvel, it was until 2012 that DC couldn't put Captain Marvel on their comic anymore when it came to Shazam. They used to put Shazam, the original Captain Marvel, things like that, but it wasn't till 2012 where they couldn't do that anymore.
They
I
had to
just found that
do
out today.
Shazam.
Yeah, now it's just Shazam. They can't put that on the comics anymore.
Because there was, there was some details in that litigation where they had won, but Captain Marvel kind of sat dormant, mostly because they had to pay a fee to Fawcett Comics every time they used him. So they used their discretion for how often they used him, and there was a certain like a decision that was made at that point where they could finally freely use him, but then they decided that they were going to have to change the name to Shazam. Another time, and this I think you're going to find this one extremely interesting, Captain Mal. The next time they lost, or wait, there was one more before that, and that's when Marvel Comics. Now we're getting to Marvel Comics. Came up with Wonder Man. Okay, Wonder Man, who's an Avenger, in 1964. He got his super strength from ionic rays, and they said, "We're suing you for copyright infringements, not like the original Wonder Man for Superman." They said, "Oh, we got a character called Wonder Woman, and we don't like you using the word wonder."
Oh my gosh.
So basically, Marvel decided, okay, well, we'll bench him for a while, and they did. They did until about 75 when they decided to start using him again.
Huh.
But DC lost this one. You're going to find this one interesting. In 1941, DC wanted to use a title called the World's Best Comics #1, and they did for #1, starring Superman and Batman and Robin. They got sued by Better Publications because they had a Best Comics, and they were forced to change to the world's.
This is where the world's finest came from?
The world's finest comics.
Get
with
outta
issue
here.
#2. Yeah, that's where it came from.
Nice, nice.
So you know a little bit about that.
I want to point it out to our tens of fans out there that the reason we are called the world's greatest news and reviews is because I was afraid of getting sued. The original name that we were making everything was the world's finest news and reviews because I like the Batman. But then I was like, yeah, they might sue us if we ever become anything. I'm still fingers crossed.
So and then of course, this goes into. That was basically kind of their stranglehold where they tried to have, and then it kind of loosened up a little bit. The world kind of decided that we can have other superheroes, and DC just can't sue everybody that's super.
Well, I like that we're past the point of them suing everybody, and now they're just straight up ripping each other off. Like now it's just Namor and Aquaman, and it's just all these characters. It's Hawkeye and it's Green Arrow, and it's all these characters that are the same character.
I mean, when I told him a couple years ago when I saw the the most wanted. It was what was that animated movie? Oh, Public Enemy.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
Because when they're all trying to go after Batman and Superman,
Yeah.
and like
Everyone's going after
they're all
him.
like landing and flying, like landing around them, like trying to surround them, and it's like, oh, okay, there's this person from Marvel, there's this person from Marvel, there's this person, but I got told, well, DC did it first. So.
Yeah, so for the longest time, Lonnie T. Crowler was a bigger Marvel guy, and I was the DC guy, and I was kind of showing him stuff. So I was showing him Batman, Superman, Public Enemies.
Yeah.
And it was a really funny scene because all these other characters are trying to jump Batman and Superman. And as they were landing, like he was just listing off their Marvel counterparts. It was really funny.
Like, a lot of them wear their underwear on the outside of their pants, too. I don't know if
Well,
that's just...
do you know why?
No.
So because Superman, correct me if I'm wrong here, Weapon 2, 'cause I'm sure you know this, was the world's first superhero. They were trying to depict him in a way that showed that he was strong and larger than life and all that. And since there were no superheroes, they modeled him in that look after a circus strongman. Because you remember they wore the tiny little tights. Because that was considered looking strong and powerful and something people would immediately recognize as strength.
That
right?
makes sense. Yeah.
That seems like it makes sense to me. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So since then, I went just from strictly, mostly Marvel to I'm like right there with Marvel and DC.
Yeah,
I like,
you've come around. You've come to the dark side.
Oh, jeez. I'm like the gray Jedi. I'm in the middle.
I like both. People harp on me for being a DC fanboy, but I love Marvel.
Just like the fact that I like all this stuff that's coming out right now. It's DC or Marvel or Dark Horse or whatever it is.
And any kind of thing any kind of comic IP that translates well and gives me good, interesting stories, I'm on board for. And and as I've said countless times, the MCU is killing it. It's much better than anything DC is doing.
But DC's animated stuff is
Their animated stuff is insane.
They've got that on lock.
Yeah, they do.
I can't wait till other properties start showing up and stuff, though. It's going to be awesome. I'm waiting for some big Valiant Comics shows to come on. I keep hearing all the
Their
rumors
Bloodshot
about
is supposedly being made.
Yeah,
Right?
Oh,
I've heard
yeah, that's
Bloodshot.
Was Vin Diesel supposed to play Bloodshot?
Yeah. And they're actually in a web movie. They're depicting Bloodshot as Jason David Frank, aka the original Green Ranger, is playing him. I believe the thing that does Superpower Beatdown. I forgot what the name of that channel. They're doing it. God, I can't remember their name. Google. But yeah, so that should be pretty fun too.
That's what Harvey's for, right?
I think they're also
You'd
going to
think.
I know.
be doing. They're supposed to be doing Quantum and Woody. Have you guys ever heard of Quantum and Woody?
Bat in the Sun is the name of that
Oh
channel.
yeah, Bat in the Sun. Quantum and Woody. Now Buzz Lightyear and Woody.
So Quantum and Woody are two adopted brothers who get exposed to, I don't know, science and
Science.
I got
So
an
they
A on my science test and it gave me superpowers.
So the thing, it's a funny comic book. It's jokes. It's one of them wants to be a serious superhero, so he wears like a superhero costume, and the other guy's just a party guy. He's out partying and gambling all night and doesn't give a crap. The funny thing is they don't even like each other anymore, but they have to touch these magic bracelets together every 24 hours, or they like just disintegrate.
Oh,
So
wow.
whether they like each other or not, they have to come up, and every time they put their things together, it makes a clang. So it's funny. You'd have to read it. It's a pretty hysterical comic book. I heard they were going to make a television.
Like they
show
won't
out of
lose
that
their
one.
powers, they die.
Yeah, it's like they have to do that to keep kind of tangible and intact.
I just want to say, if there's ever an accident and we get superpowers, and if there's any people in the world that I have to clang with every 24 hours, I hope it's somebody in this room.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah,
I like to hear that.
Yeah.
But talking MCU and how they're doing everything right, so one of the big news stories coming out the recent days was the Fox Disney merger that
Oh,
everybody knew was
yeah.
happening. It
Yes.
finally got finalized with an 8-digit number being attached to it. So that's more money than any of us can even comprehend.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
But we're officially at the point now, because it could have fallen through or whatever. We're officially at the point now where Disney owns the intellectual properties of Fantastic Four,
Ink is dry.
Silver Surfer,
Contract
the
is done.
X-Men. Anybody else I'm missing here?
Doctor Doom.
Yeah, and all the characters that come with those
Yeah,
characters.
Galactus.
I mean, it's an
Did you say
exciting time.
Fantastic Four already?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
it's a fantastic time. It's a
Pun
wonderful time.
intended.
I'm excited for all this.
So
and,
So my question to both of you, and we'll throw Harvey in this one also because he hasn't been very talkative. What character are you guys most excited? And it could be a hero, it could be a villain, anything like. What character are you most excited to see the MCU adapt?
honestly, you just
Well, my favorite character is Wolverine. I can't wait to see them adapt to Wolverine. It's my favorite superhero comic book character of them all. So that's for me.
yeah, it's actually my he's on my top 3 list. But for me, with this whole merger, honestly it's a toss up between the Fantastic Four, the family, the first Marvel's first
Right.
family. I just want to see them depicted correctly. You know what I'm saying? Like in with Marvel Studios, they cast really well. So besides that, I think Doctor Doom is another one that I think they could do so much with, and he's been just lacking in his powers and everything that they haven't, and his intelligence. Like the other Doctor Doom that we've seen is not even close to being on par with what he should be.
Yeah, Doctor Doom was on my list. He's one of the greatest villains in the history of comics, and he's never been done justice.
He's my favorite
at
of
all.
all.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
What's up,
Harvey, what do you got over there?
Not to sound redundant, but Wolverine. I
mean,
might
that's
change
fair.
my answer later, but
No, so I'm most excited for the X-Men as a whole. Like, you guys can check out the trailer reaction that we just did for Dark Phoenix, and even go back and check out our trailer reaction for the original Dark Phoenix trailer, and you'll see our very much lack of enthusiasm. We really want to see X-Men done right in the way it should be done, and it's kind of a shame though because they have some good actors at Fox. Michael Fassbender, James McAvoy have been really good on those roles for a long time. Fassbender, I got a man crush on him. He's so freaking good. Some of the best scenes in these X-Men movies are from him.
Yeah, I agree.
But Disney's pretty much said the only one that's not being recast is Deadpool. They're rebooting everything. So now what do you guys think about actors? Who should
The
come in?
biggest mistake ever would be try to recast Deadpool.
Yeah,
Well,
don't-
and the
you
great
don't
thing
do
is
that.
like
That would
Deadpool
be
could
the
make
dumbest decision made in
He could-
cinema.
he
can
could
make-
reference it.
yeah,
he
he
could
could-
talk
yeah.
about everybody being different.
Exactly.
It's gonna be great.
It's like, why am I the only one that's still the same? Like,
or just make mention. It's like, hey, so you guys all sold out. Hey, look at the new actors. Disney threw down all that money or whatever. It's gonna be great.
hey, so the speaking of the Michael Fassbender, so I've been catching up on Gifted on Fox. The mutant TV series, and it's really good actually. And when I tell people, I said if you liked Heroes when it was good, before the writer's strike back then, for those of us that are old enough to remember that, it's really good writing. It's really good. They do mention the X-Men. You have the Mutant Underground that is doing stuff because they want to continue the X-Men's dream of mutants living in harmony with people, or just not being segregated and subjectified and all that good stuff. So you have the Murlocs that are, for those fans that know about the Murlocs, they live under the underground in the tunnels and stuff. But you have Sentinel Services is a little different, but I mean they depict it really well, and it's so I'm getting to that because with Polaris, who's Magneto's daughter, like every time she does something or whatever with her magnetism, and she talks about her father, I see Michael Fassbender as Magneto.
That's just who you picture now.
That's who I picture.
Because he's so good in the role.
Right.
Yep.
So check out that show if you guys get a chance. It's really good.
Yeah, I've seen like half the first season. What I've seen of it, it's really good. I just want to mention something about Heroes real quick. Never in my life have I seen such a dramatic drop in quality on a show. Like from one season to another. That show was so good, and then it was garbage like in a blink. It was really crazy.
And we were talking before, I mean, like Heroes was basically a ripoff of everything about X-Men.
So many storylines were ripped out of completely. Like people were like, "Oh, it's kind of like X-Men." It reminds me. No, it's X-Men. Like they have the Mutant Registration Acts. They have a bunch of different like comic storylines in it. At one point when it was airing, I looked at a friend of mine. I was like, if a giant fucking robot that they're called Bentinels just show up, I'm gonna stop watching this show. Like I'm gonna be like, hey, Marvel needs to sue somebody because it was straight up a ripoff.
Yeah, with Gifted, they can do that, but I think one of the letters, they have the X, with the circle around it. So they make reference to the X-Men. They make reference to the Brotherhood.
They could do whatever they could talk about it.
Right. So it's good.
So have you guys watched Legion?
I love Legion.
I like Legion a lot,
Legion is the best, one of the best superhero shows ever. Have you seen it?
Yeah, but I'm sighing here because I had to stop watching because it's literally a show you have to pay attention to. You can't do it. You can't be texting. You can't do nothing. But anything. If
you want, like, I would literally turn that show on and just be ready to trip out. Like,
right. It was done. So I've seen the first season and it was done so well. I really loved it. The second one I couldn't get into, so I just put it on the back burners. Like I have to watch it later.
So speaking about how you have to be in the right state of mind to watch this. So I don't know where you guys live, but here in Washington State, marijuana is legal. And when I was furloughed from my job, I spent about 3 months there being a pothead. And this is when Legion premiered. And I tried and failed to watch the first episode about 6 times because I watched it baked out of my mind every time. And it was so trippy. And I was just like freaking out at one point. Like I thought I was like living a nightmare. Like it was the weirdest thing. And then like I had to go back to work. So I sobered up and I watched the first episode and I was like, oh, this all makes sense.
Now it makes sense. Jeez.
But it's a good show. You guys should really watch it.
Drugs are bad, okay?
Drugs are bad. Okay. Say no.
It's a bad trip. Oh my god.
There's some fun stuff to watch when you're high, but that is not one of them. That is a bad thing to watch when you're stoned.
I don't know if you should be doing those drugs,
Shut up, Marty. Damn it.
But I'm just saying you probably shouldn't be doing that.
So let's take this in a direction of let's not just focus on Marvel, but let's focus at any comic intellectual property and look at what would be a team, a villain, a hero, a storyline that you would love to see in movies, and especially in Marvel now because they have all their properties, they could put these things together.
But we're talking anything.
Anything.
So one's actually happened. The Boys is actually about to be a series. And if you haven't read The Boys, it's from the writer and the artist of Preacher. I believe it's Steve Dillon and Garth Ennis do that.
I think so. And that's coming out on Amazon like almost next month or something.
And that book is insane. If you guys don't know, kind of centrals around a universe where there are superheroes. They kind of are a parody of the DC universe. Like there's clearly a Superman, clearly a Batman. They just don't refer to him as that. And it follows around the group of people that essentially clean up after them and stop them when they get out of control. Because it really much shows that superheroes have no training. They have no ability to control their power in terms of collateral damage. And it's a really sobering, realistic look at what would happen, especially if superheroes have powers and are corrupted and are like that Superman character is a raging dick.
Well, yeah, and they have no morals, and it's like if if they kill one of us in a battle or something, it's like they hit a squirrel.
Don't care.
Yeah, they're like they look at some other human who's he's like, can you clean that up or something? And so
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
look annoyed more than anything.
I mean that's what happened in one of the main characters, his girlfriend or whatever. He's sitting there getting ready to propose to her or whatever, and this running superhero that's fast, he just basically just plasters his girlfriend against the wall.
So that is the opening scene of the first book, and that's what made me realize I was going to love this. It's going shot for shot between what's essentially the Flash and chasing the Reverse Flash across continents, across oceans.
Right.
And it'll show a panel of that. Then it would cut to, and it's Simon Pegg's character. It's actually modeled after him. And he's walking in the park with his girlfriend, and he's saying how much he loves her and how he never thought he would feel this way. Cuts to the next panel is them running across the ocean. Then it cuts to them, and he proposes, and she accepts, and they're holding each other's hands, and they're holding their arms out. They're kind of spinning, and then it cuts to them, and he's like, "I'm so happy." Cuts to them running. Cuts to him again, and then he's just holding her arms. There's no body attached to it. And then it cuts to the Flash, and he's just like, "Wow, I almost didn't get him. He took that left, but I compensated for it." And it's just him holding her, and she just splattered. Like he just.
I mean, she looks like
wow.
just slime against the wall. You can't recognize the rest of her.
I was like,
So
and
wait,
by
wait,
the way,
wait.
that's tip of the iceberg. The comic gets
Okay,
way more fucked up
So
than that.
I've never read this, and when you guys said read, I thought it was like an actual book, but it sounds like
It's a graphic
there's-
novel.
It's
It's a graphic
a graphic
novel.
novel. Okay, all right. So I might have to check that out.
No, I believe I own the first one. It's at my house, and then I borrowed the rest of them. But that is not even by far the most fucked up thing that happens. It gets like so dark I wouldn't even want to talk about it.
Jeez.
But I'm excited to watch that on TV, guys.
Oh, I am too. It's gonna be crazy.
What about you guys? Though, what are you guys excited for or want to have happen?
Well, one of the things is a new Marvel creation. The War of the Realms is coming out, and that's an incredible story that I can't wait. I'd love to see in a movie.
What's that about? I've never heard of it.
You got the black elf named
Malachi?
Is that his name?
From Thor
Yes.
Ragnarok? Or
Yes,
from
yes,
Thor
yes,
the Dark
yes,
World?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
So he's basically gone to each of the realms and kind of got all of the worst creatures and people together to make an army, and they're basically waging war against the rest of the realm. They're just causing absolute chaos. It's basically a new. I'm not that far into it right now. I'm kind of cursory about it. It's basically one of their newest storylines that came out. But from what I've seen around it, it's pretty awesome. So for me, that's a new thing that I'd like to see. I have a lot of old things. I'd love to see an Alpha Flight movie. Love Alpha Flight. Wolverine, member of Alpha Flight.
Here's the deal. Like even 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you would have told me, "Hey, I would really like them to make an Alpha Flight movie." I'd be like, "That would never happen, ever." But we're at the point now where I'm like, "No, fuck, that could happen." Like
Yeah?
that's a vibe. Like I never thought there'd be an Ant-Man movie. I never thought there'd be a Doctor Strange movie. Like that's a viable team that might happen.
Yeah. It'd take off in Canada.
If you guys don't know, they're Canadian superhero teams. T-Crawler, what about you? Do you have a couple?
Yeah, I have a couple. On the Marvel side, I like to see the Secret Avengers. When I was thinking about that before because that would be a movie or a string of movies where it eventually integrates into. I can't think right now. I can't mixes. Let's say mixes. I'll go simple.
Integrates.
Whatever. mixes the stuff the MCU already has, the Marvel Studios already has, with the stuff they just acquired. I mean, you eventually get to add some of those characters, and you also have some street level people that are as far as those Marvel, the Netflix Marvel series that we're in. So you get a mix of all this stuff. As far as DC, I would like to see. Honestly, I would like to see a movie with Batman and Robin and Nightwing and Red Robin. Like I want to see them as a team, go up against some pretty good enemies.
Yeah,
there.
I'm annoyed that the first time in anything it was an animated movie, but it was the first time in terms of a movie, animated or otherwise, that we actually saw all four Robins together. We saw Nightwing and Red Hood and Tim Drake's Robin and Damian Wayne's Robin was in fucking Batman Ninja.
That was the first animated stuff by DC that really sucked. We
Well,
laughed.
and so here's the thing. I know
if it didn't suck so much, we probably would have not finished
I know
watching
that
it.
Batman Ninja has like a big following and a lot of people liked it. And
Who
I will
cares?
say
Still
the
sucks.
animation style was really good. It was interesting to watch.
Just
But I
corny-
will
it
say
was
this:
corny as
I
shit.
realized
What do you
very
do?
very quickly I'm not an anime guy. So if you're an anime guy and you're a Batman fan, you probably love
I
that.
mean, come on, we were
No, no, no.
saying like
That was the most ridiculous fucking thing I had ever seen.
You have
It
the
made
world's-
no sense, and the dialogue was worse than Power Rangers.
But he's like the finest detective or what? What is
don't even
Batman
remember.
dubbed?
I don't even
What is
remember.
Batman dubbed? The world's finest detective or greatest detective?
Yeah, he's the
Right?
world's finest.
But he's there, surrounded by a bunch of guys in Joker masks, and he's like, "Who do you work for?"
Yeah,
Like,
no,
you
it
can't
was
figure that shit
it-
out.
It was
Really?
terrible. Not only that, but and you would think I
Well,
would
shit.
like this, but then every villain had a fucking Zord.
It was-
Like,
yeah, and,
just-
and they were literally like, we were like, if they connect all together to make one big robot, this is gonna be like.
and then they connect make a fucking Megazord. And then, so I could still get on board with all that, but it
Oh
was
my
when the
gosh.
fucking monkeys,
the monkeys. Where the hell did they come
monkeys
from?
combined to make this giant, and then they're punching through metal, and I'm like,
Okay.
what the like? Did we get high and not realize?
I know
it
it
Like,
was
what-
horrible. Like, what the hell are we watching
Again,
right now?
you can.
Are these super monkeys?
No, I don't even know what they were. And
Okay.
you could
I mean,
blast me in the comments
You
if you
can't
want.
tell me that a super monkey can't punch through metal.
I don't know what they were. But you know what? Blast me in the comments and be like, I don't understand anime. Clearly,
Yeah.
it's not my bag. That was the weirdest fucking thing I'd ever watched. But on the subject of Batman, talking about things I want to have happen, there's something that actually got announced that I was excited for, and then this cruel world took it away from me.
Oh, what's that?
So they were gonna make a DC in the DC universe was gonna make a standalone live action tying into their universe Batgirl movie, and they got
No.
Josh Whedon to write and direct it.
Oh, yeah.
So this was officially announced.
would've been
Anybody
amazing.
who knows me knows I love Buffy. I love Josh Whedon, and if there was anyone who was going to make that movie and make it amazing, it was going to be Josh Whedon. But like anything DC has planned, Josh Whedon drew out because it was like getting nowhere. The movie got dropped. They even were making a Nightwing movie, which would have been dope because I love Nightwing, and that
Yeah.
got dropped. So basically, I'm just really mad because there's really cool movies on the table that could be getting made, and they're not. But that's what I want to see. Weapon 2, you got any more?
Well, yeah, there's a couple of, maybe for me, one of the most famous couple issues of Marvel Comics would be Incredible Hulk number 180 and 181,
First appearance of Wolverine.
when we have the battle between Wendigo, Hulk, Wolverine, his first appearance, of course, like you said, and I'd love to see that incorporated into some type of a film where I can see live action that battle. One of the most wonderful battles I've ever had in my imagination, my comic book childhood. Love to see that in a movie. Also, a storyline which came out of the Marvel 2-in-1 annual number 7. The first time you see the champion of the universe, and the storyline in that was where he comes. He's one of the masters of the universe or whatever. He comes to Earth and gathers all of Marvel's most powerful heroes, and he's going to have them fight each other to see who's the strongest, and then that person's going to fight him because that's going to be the most worthy challenger. There's all kinds of reasons why he says that some of these guys aren't strong enough. Hulk gets disqualified because he just can't control himself. He's too much rage and too chaotic, and so it boils down to Thing is the winner, and he fights Thing, and he's beaten Thing, and Thing's so tenacious, and he keeps coming back, and then finally he decides that he's one of the most noble and worthy opponents he's ever faced, not because he couldn't beat him, but because of his spirit and his heart.
Okay, so I have a couple questions. I've never read this before. One, what kind of bullshit move is it to just immediately disqualify like the strongest thing that could totally like whip your ass? Probably. It's like I wanted to pick a fight with the biggest, baddest man in the room. What'd you say? Dwayne Johnson's here? Yeah, not you though.
you're
Like,
disqualified.
you're out. You're DQ'd because reasons.
Well,
That makes no fucking sense.
completely hear
Reasons.
everything you're saying, and then there's the whole component of this guy being completely full of himself.
Okay, but let's also point out. So Thing, sure, Hulk has whipped the Thing's ass on many occasions. Was Thor not involved in this? Because I feel like Thor could whip the Thing and probably beat this guy then.
I can't remember.
Was Sentry not
I
there?
can't-
Like, If Thing is the winning, like not that
don't
Thing's a
even know
chump,
if-
but
I
I
don't
know a
even know
lot
if
of
Sentry
characters.
was a character yet.
There's
I
a
can't
lot of
really
characters that
remember.
could beat the shit out of the Thing.
Yes, it was a gallery of, I can't remember. I believe that Thor was there, but I think Thor was not allowed to use his hammer.
What
And
the fuck is this rule?
Listen
then?
to me.
What is this?
It was a boxing match. It's a boxing match
with gloves and shit.
with gloves and everything. It's funny, but the thing
I
is,
mean,
but Thor couldn't use his hammer, and back then, as soon as he was away from his hammer for a minute, he turned into Donald Blake.
That's true. I forgot. Yeah, back then he used to transform.
So this
yeah,
is awesome.
yeah.
This is like me being like, "Hey, Dwayne Johnson, aka The Rock, we're gonna have a bench press contest, but you can't use your hands."
yeah.
This is ridiculous, but I want to see this in a movie.
Yeah, I'll tell you, when I was a kid, this seemed so fascinating and excited me like you wouldn't believe. I mean, I remember it. I had to go back and look at it because the way I remembered it was like some blood sport where they were like almost fighting each other to death or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it
but I went
sounds
back
kinda
and
like
looked
that.
at it, and it was a boxing match.
By the way,
Yeah.
speaking of things that don't hold up, have you seen the movie Bloodsport recently?
Oh, that's bad.
That is terrible. That is like
Bad movie.
not good at all.
Dude, there's a lot of movies. If we go back and watch them, we could have a whole segment on those.
There are certain movies from my childhood that I refuse to go back and watch because I don't want to ruin them.
Right.
Because
you,
I
you
know
just want to
it's
remember
just-
them how they were and how amazing they were at the time. Because if you go back, you're like, oh, I can't believe I watched this crap.
Do you know, I was basically, I could say I was a captive audience for this the other day. And it was a bad movie when I saw it in the 80s. It was torture to sit through. I mean, almost literal torture. Biodome.
What?
Oh yeah,
Biodome.
I thought that was
was-
hilarious.
It was
Pauly
horrible
Shore.
in the 80s.
I thought that was the funniest
Oh my
thing.
goodness.
Is that Polly?
When's the last time you watched it?
Probably when I was a small child.
Yeah, you probably don't
you
wanna
watch
watch
it
it
now, and it'll
be-
make you cringe.
To
like
be
you would
fair,
never believe.
I don't want to watch any Pauly Shore movie now.
It's the weasel, buddy.
Fuck it, let's watch it.
When Biodome came out, I loved that movie. It was hilarious. I
Right?
watched it about 3 years ago and almost shot myself. It's fucking
Aw.
awful.
It's the weasel, buddy.
Yeah, that's already getting old. So
But it's got
See, it's terrible.
it's got the least awesome Baldwin in it as well.
okay, hang on.
Yeah, yeah.
What about Encino Man? Like,
That actually
God.
still holds up.
I
decent.
bet that
Kazunga's-
holds up.
Yeah, it's
I
not
haven't
terrible.
watched it lately. I don't
think
I
it'd be
was a
as
big
horrible as
fan when I
Biodome.
watched it.
Yeah, there's some
Back then.
cringe-worthy moments in that, but it's mostly okay.
I bet we could watch. We could watch Encino Man.
I think it'll hold up better than.
We're gonna watch it
Biodome.
now.
Well, not now.
No, not now. Come on.
I'm saying we should watch it and do a retro review.
No, we should do a live stream on that one.
Ooh,
I'm
there
gonna
you go.
need all of the alcohol for that.
all the alcohol.
So I've got 3 more characters I'm just going to throw out there, and then we can just freestyle. The 3 more characters are: I'd love to see a good Namor movie, Imperious
that'd be
Rex,
awesome.
the
watch
Submariner.
Aquaman, bro.
Come on.
Come
and so then I'd
DC
love to see. There's
fanboy.
2 characters that
Hang on. We did a poll on the world's greatest
Oh my
page on
God,
Facebook,
how-
and it was Namor versus Aquaman who would win in a fight.
Yeah.
And I voted Aquaman just to piss people off. I did
Well,
not expect it to be that close.
we
it
figured you would.
it was like 14 to 12. in
Like
terms of
Venom and I
votes.
went back and looked at the votes, and we figured you'd be on the Aquaman side. But it
we're in
was,
the middle of Momoa fever, man.
Now I
One
hold.
vote.
We just had
Was
we
it
just
determined
had
by
an
one vote?
Aquaman
It
come
was-
out.
It was 15 to 14. Only one vote.
Now I want to point out, I wholeheartedly, if I'm betting money, I would bet on Namor. But just
Oh.
for the sake of argument, I went DC.
Oh, I
fanboy.
voted Neymar, and but I tell you, it didn't surprise me because everybody's got Momoa on the brain.
Yeah, I believe, like you said, Momoa fever.
and other places. All right, who else?
Oh,
So there's two
See what you did there.
villains that ever since I was a kid, I've always wanted to see. You guys have probably seen me post this on the Facebook page before, but I love to see Vermin. Vermin is one of my.
Yeah.
He freaked me out when I was a kid. A cannibalistic, half man, half rat that controls an army of rats.
He's really good in Kraven's Last Hunt.
yeah.
He's
yeah.
creepy as shit in that.
Super creepy. I mean, just the grossest, most foul creature you can imagine. Something I didn't know until I read about him is he can also control dogs. So he control
Oh,
an
wow.
army of
Okay.
rats and an army of dogs.
He's also not like a chump, like a throwaway character.
No,
like
no, he's
Spider-Man and Captain America struggled to take him down.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And another character that I loved, which used to battle, I remember they used to battle the New Mutants, and they probably battled the X-Men a lot too, was the Soviet team of mutants. I think they were called like the Soviet Super Soldiers or something like that. And my favorite one of them was Ursa Major, who was this huge bear man, just a huge bear that a guy could turn into. And that just always thought it would be awesome. I'd love to see him on screen tearing stuff up.
So speaking of Marvel things that we would like to see, either characters or just storylines we would like to see adapted properly, I'm going to lean toward X-Men here. Obviously, Wolverine and the rest of the X-Men. I would like to see Storm depicted as powerful as she actually is in the comics. Yeah. Like, she's been underutilized and underpowered in every single movie. She's worshipped as a god in her native country. She controls the weather. Like, that is insane powerful. I would love to see Omega Red. I think watching him throw down with Wolverine
would be a really good one.
I think that would be amazing. I would love to see proper Sabretooth Wolverine relationship. Would be really cool. I would love to see Apocalypse done correctly. Mr. Sinister would be amazing. Like, X-Men alone opens up such an amazing world, and obviously, like, they're not going to do it for a long time because of the movie coming out. But I would love to see the real Phoenix Saga actually done right with the Shi'ar Empire and everything that comes with that would be amazing. So yeah, I'm excited for X-Men possibilities.
So I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Cyclops in the comics, was he a douche as he was in the movies, or is that just something they did in the movies?
So I would like to lead here. I'll let you finish. Cyclops has probably got it shafted harder in the movies than any other X-Men character. Like, he's kind of a douche in the comics, but he is a leader.
But he's not a super douche.
No, he's a leader, and he is every bit a rival to Wolverine. Like, Jean's affection. Like, Wolverine's like in the movies, Wolverine punks him all the time, and like you don't understand why she picked Cyclops over Wolverine. In the comics, you totally get it. Like, he's a badass. He's gone through some terrible traumas. Like, his backstory is really, really sad. But he's crazy powerful. Like, he could shoot his optic blast through. He can punch a hole in the planet. And just what he's overcome and like how strong of a leader he is. He's actually an awesome character that has never gotten his due. What do you think, Weapon 2?
I agree with a lot of what you said. I think that part of it is that in comparison, he's the less cool of the two guys. And so
that's true.
Yeah. And so he's this leader that's a good leader. He's a qualified leader. He does a good job leading, but I think that I've always seen him as kind of just a little bit of a lack of charisma, the kind of thing that gets people to kind of follow you blindly into battle. And so, and of course, there's the whole, like you said, there's the love triangle thing, and so.
But would it be a safe thing to say that he is much more interesting of a character in the comics? That the movies
by far.
No,
no, he's a great character, and like I said, I agree that he's depicted poorly and not accurately in the movies, but I just think that that's kind of my description if we're comparing the two.
Yeah, I still don't think he's anybody's favorite X-Men by any means.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, he's very much like will follow what Xavier says, and he's like, this is the team, and we got to do what's right for the team, and I got to, he's not going to go against anything Xavier says, or you know what I mean? So he's definitely white bread, for lack of a better term, but he's way more interesting by comparison.
And to his credit, I mean, Logan, I mean, Wolverine, he's quite the loner, and does always play well with others, and not always the greatest team member and leader. So if you had to get a leader, a kind of a consistent leader you can depend on, I think that's going to be Cyclops.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like with Wolverine, even in the comics, they really wanted in the movies to make Hugh Jackman's Wolverine the forefront and the leader. You see that especially in X-Men: The Last Stand. But he would not be anybody's choice to be the leader of the team in the comics, like at all. Like in fact, Storm becomes leader when Cyclops leaves for a brief time. I believe is that in the 80s. She's the leader. Wolverine, I don't think at any point that I've read was the leader of the team.
No, the closest he's ever got to leading is like an instructor or a teacher at the academy, and kind of like, hey, this is your elder you should look up to. He's been through some things, but yeah, he's never been in a position where he's like, hey, this is the leader.
Great question, Harvey, but yeah, he's. I would like to see him done properly.
Yeah,
for
so
sure.
I guess I'll have to change my answer from Wolverine to Cyclops. Yeah, because I mean, there was no point to him acting that way in the movies. They'd have no context for it.
No, and he's like the least interesting character in the movies. Like you don't care at all about him whatsoever.
Well, it's funny because like was it X-Men 2? They tried to like he's at the lake and he's crying over Jean and
That was X-Men 3, but yeah.
sorry, X-Men 3. Okay, yeah, but he's crying over her and they're trying to get you to feel for him, and I'm like, I just don't.
You don't care. And then like
You
Jean
know.
comes and kills them, and you're like, all right, well, whatever.
Yeah, it seems like they were trying to allude to something deeper there, but they didn't have enough time to do anything with it.
Yeah,
so-
and they spent so much time on the attraction between Wolverine and Jean that they don't even really show the relationship much between Jean. You just assume that they're together. You know they're together. They mention that they're together. And you're just, at that point, you're supposed to assume that they've had some great love story that you never see on camera. And you're right, we're supposed to empathize with his loss at that point. But we feel worse for Wolverine in that movie. And would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
in that one, I'd be more interested to see what the director was actually going for before everything was cut and everything was edited out and all that. Because obviously there's time constraints and all that. But.
Well, and there's some backstage things going on with the actor who plays Cyclops, James Marsden. He was didn't have the scheduling time to shoot as much of the movie because he was going to film Superman Returns, that was being directed by Bryan Singer, who directed the first two X-Men at the time. So I mean, there was never much of a plan for him in that third movie. I think it was always kind of a plan for Brett Ratner to write him out. So yeah, but definitely something I would like to see.
Yeah. Yeah, bro.
So anything else that any other characters that you're thinking about that you want to see T Crawler?
I want them to do a Flash movie, but without Ezra Miller.
Like you don't want
I don't want him.
you don't like him or not?
No, I don't like him. Just don't. Because I like the TV series.
You like Grant Gustin?
Yeah, I like him. He's for me he's Flash, and it was hard to even watch Justice League with Ezra being the person that plays Flash. It's just I don't know.
You want it connected. You want a Marvel style. The TV shows and the movies are a connected universe, and
It just I don't know. It seems like it makes more sense that way, but it's I don't know everything.
It just makes sense to get attached to the actors that play the characters. I agree with you.
I do. But you got to think from a logistical standpoint that it's got to be a nightmare to coordinate everything.
pretty true. Okay, I guess I
I
can
mean,
see that.
that's pretty much why we haven't seen any of the Netflix TV show characters cross over in movies or vice versa, because scheduling is insane.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Maybe hopefully that's another thing I would like to see. Some of those crossing over into movies. It'd be awesome just to have an appearance by Daredevil or Luke Cage or Iron Fist. Like any of those guys. It would just be nice to have a little crossover cameo here or there. I mean, you're in New York. You know how many literal like heroes you have in New York. I mean, I've always said it's stupid to be a criminal in New York. Like you have all kinds of heroes all over the place. Like why would you even commit a crime in that city? Like seriously, upstate New York, you have with the X-Men, and you have just in the city you have like the Baxter Building.
Yeah,
you have-
Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, Daredevil, the Defenders,
It's just
The
ridiculous.
Avengers.
the Avengers.
Yeah.
Why is there any crime in that city?
I just think like if I was gonna rob a bank, like, okay, so we're gonna rob this bank. I'm like, are we though? Like, yeah, it's a good idea. Maybe we should rob LA. Why?
Let's go.
There's no superheroes in
There's
LA.
the West
Let's-
Coast Avengers.
Yeah, West Coast, the Great Lakes Avengers.
the fuck out of here with the West
Hey,
Coast.
but
Avengers.
here's
It's
the
like
deal.
a farming
It's
team for
easier to
sports.
name the
Come on.
characters that aren't in New York than to try to name the ones that are. Let's
yeah,
put
T
it
Crawler, name a West Coast Avenger.
The guys on
Put
the
your phone down and name it
Hawkeye.
once.
Hawkeye.
Hawkeye,
West
yeah,
Coast Avenger.
Hawkeye. The guys that are on the West Coast. I mean, those guys. Hence the name West Coast Avengers. Then there's Great Lake Avengers. I heard there was Great Lake Avengers. I was like, what?
There is Great Lake Avengers.
It's like
kind of a
crazy.
comedy,
They-
but
they kind of
yeah.
split them up, so they covered all the United States. So
There's like Flat Man. I think is
Maybe
a,
you know
is,
what,
is
maybe
Great
I-
Lakes Avenger.
let's go to Kansas.
There's a Great Lakes Avenger named the Immortal. He just every time he gets killed, he just comes back. I think that's what it is. He can't be killed or whatever. That's just, and that's kind of all he does is just never die.
What's your superpower? I just don't die. I come back.
Well, do you remember when I posted about Forget Me Not, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
His mutant power is everybody forgets him.
Yeah,
And-
and he's been around in some of the most pivotal like moments in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, and I think
But
I think
nobody
that,
remembers.
I think that what Charles Xavier had to do was put a mental reminder in him, so he kept reminding himself that this guy exists because nobody can.
I just like the powers going back real quick to the guy who just doesn't die, who just keeps coming back. They're like, "What's your superpowers, bro? You ever seen South Park? I'm Kenny."
Oh yeah. You killed Immortal. You bastards.
All right, is there anything else that we want to touch on, or are we gonna start wrapping up?
I think that's it.
No, we're good, man. This is actually pretty cool. I like this.
Yeah, this was pretty fun. All right. So thank you guys for joining us on our inaugural podcast. Hopefully we'll get better. Hopefully that wasn't terribly boring for all you guys. Why don't you guys let us know in the comments if there's any topics you would like us to discuss in depth. And yeah, stay tuned. We're going to do this try to do this at least on a monthly basis, talk about different topics, and possibly if there's like movie reviews that we want to discuss a little bit more in depth, we'll tackle it here. But yeah, thanks for joining us on our inaugural podcast. Peace out.
Peace.
Peace.